I've spent over 3 decades working with men and their partners, and I can tell you that the questions you might have about your sexual health aren't just normal, they're incredibly important. Today, we're going to have an honest conversation about declining sexual function and intimacy that many men experience, particularly as they get older. More importantly, I'm going to share practical solutions that can help you return to a fulfilling and healthy intimate life. The reasons behind sexual inactivity can vary enormously, from emotional and relationship difficulties to serious health concerns. Understanding these causes is the first crucial step towards finding real solutions. I'll explain the possible reasons behind your symptoms, and then I'll give you qualified advice and practical measures that can help you improve your health and vitality. This information could genuinely change your life, so please take your time with this. Now, I want you to understand that sexuality and our relationships with others are deeply personal matters that affect all of us differently. What I'm about to share comes from decades of clinical experience, working with thousands of men, just like you, who face these challenges and come through the other side. Men sometimes feel that their masculinity, their sexual desire, or their sexual activity has changed. This experience can be worrying and even frightening. However, this can happen for various reasons. Some are more emotional, based on relationships and feelings. Others are connected to physical health problems. These changes can have a substantial impact on a couple's intimate and sexual life. They can cause discomfort, anxiety, and even misunderstanding between partners. What's vital to understand is that there's always something behind this phenomenon. We can only move forward if we take the time to fully understand what's happening in our minds and in our bodies. This knowledge paves the way to solutions and actions that can help you restore a passionate, fulfilling, and healthy sexual life. The first step towards this realization is to recognize the phenomenon and its causes. Let me walk you through the 3 most common causes I see in my practice, and crucially, what you can actually do about each one. The first cause is perhaps the most overlooked: relationship conflicts and emotional distance. Often, the most intimate part of a relationship is the first to suffer when conflicts, misunderstandings, or tensions arise that can't be resolved. Invisible barriers, such as disappointments, emotional distance, or unexpressed emotions, can prevent a satisfying and genuine sexual connection. It's essential to restore sincere communication and an atmosphere of trust to rekindle the fire of intimacy. Communication is necessary to prevent arguments from turning into a constant echo and increasing emotional distance. Sexual desire can disappear gradually but surely. This is a common experience for many couples, but it can be devastating when it happens in relationships that were once strong. One member of the couple may feel ignored or invisible. This can lead to emotional and sometimes physical withdrawal. It's easy to get lost in your own thoughts and disappointments. In the absence of open dialogue, you can drift even further apart. The feeling of rejection and the desire to withdraw to protect yourself from pain becomes inevitable. An invisible barrier emerges that weakens the relationship over time. Intimate moments that once brought pleasure and satisfaction begin to lose their appeal. When there's no strong emotional connection, what was once natural becomes a burden. Sexual desire slowly fades like a fire deprived of fuel. Couples can fall into a downward spiral when they lack affection. This situation is made worse by daily stress and worries. Stress at work, financial problems, and growing family obligations. All these are factors that increase the burden. Each partner experiences their own reality, and the other cannot share the emotional burden. The absence of physical intimacy creates an insurmountable gap. Physical connection gradually disappears. Intimacy is replaced by mechanical gestures and silence. Sex becomes less frequent, less passionate, and less satisfying. Couples then find themselves in a state where they accept that this is just how things are, and they believe it's normal. But that's not true. That's not what actually happens. The problem isn't the absence of desire, but the inability to identify the cause of intimacy issues. Here's what you can actually do about this. First, you must be aware of the situation. Listen to and understand each other's emotional and physical needs. This is the first step to restoring that connection. Even though it's difficult, it's important to break the silence and open up to dialogue. The courage to discuss problems and work together on solving them can breathe new life into couples. In my experience, couples who benefit most follow these specific steps. Schedule a proper conversation. Not during an argument, but a dedicated time where you both agree to talk honestly. Start with "I feel" statements rather than accusations. For example, "I feel we've drifted apart," rather than "You never want intimacy anymore." This small shift in language makes an enormous difference. Secondly, consider seeing a relationship counselor who specializes in intimacy issues. There's absolutely no shame in this. In fact, in my 30 years of practice, I've seen couples therapy work wonders for relationships that seemed beyond repair. Many men tell me they wish they'd gone years earlier. Thirdly, try reintroducing non-sexual physical affection first. Hold hands whilst watching television. Give a genuine hug that lasts more than 3 seconds. These small gestures rebuild the physical connection without the pressure of sexual performance. Think of it as rebuilding the foundation before you worry about the roof. The second major cause I see regularly is grief and loss. The loss of a loved one is an incredibly difficult experience that affects all aspects of life, including sexuality. Such grief can be so powerful that it displaces other desires, including sexual ones. During these dark times, it's completely normal to lose the desire for physical contact with anyone because we get the impression that a part of ourselves has been irretrievably removed. This feeling of emptiness or lack, a feeling that nothing can fill, this loss can lead to emotional and physical separation that lasts many months, even years. The intimate space that was once a vital element of the relationship becomes a gray zone. It's avoided like an open wound. However natural and human grief may be, it acts as a veil, a darkness that engulfs sexuality. When pain takes over, desire becomes an unreal concept. This isn't just a mental state. The body slowly adapts to a world without intimate relationships. The body can adapt to the absence of intimate moments, physical contact, and embraces. The absence of closeness becomes the norm, and desire becomes nothing more than a distant memory. The fear of opening your heart is the main obstacle on the path back to intimacy and passion. Broken hearts are afraid they'll be torn apart again. The thought of losing someone is so painful that it's hard to imagine being close to another person again. Returning to an intimate and healthy life seems practically impossible. Now, here's what you need to understand. It's crucial to recognize the impact of grief on your sexual health. You must understand that this difficult time won't last forever. It's very important to acknowledge that during mourning your desires disappear, but it's also important to realize that healing is necessary to restore intimacy. From my clinical experience, here's what actually helps. First, give yourself permission to grieve properly. There's no timeline for this. Some men feel they should be over it after a few months, but grief doesn't work that way. Typically, it takes at least a year before you start feeling more like yourself again. Secondly, consider joining a grief support group. I've referred countless patients to these, and the feedback is consistently positive. Speaking with others who've experienced similar losses helps you feel less alone and provides perspective on your journey. Thirdly, when you do feel ready, and only when you feel ready, start with small steps back towards intimacy. This might mean simply allowing yourself to notice attractive people again without guilt. It might mean having coffee with someone new. It doesn't have to be sexual immediately. Give yourself permission to explore connection again at your own pace. If you find that grief is still overwhelming after 18 months to 2 years, or if it's severely impacting your daily functioning, please do speak with a therapist who specializes in bereavement. They can provide targeted support that makes a genuine difference. The third and by no means least cause of sexual inactivity is chronic illness. When a man faces a serious illness, for example cancer or another condition requiring long-term treatment, the impact goes far beyond just physical symptoms. The illness, with its difficult treatment, side effects, and uncertainty about the future, deeply affects both body and mind. It then becomes difficult, if not impossible, to maintain a fulfilling intimate life. Sexual desire is affected by fatigue, depression, pain, and other health problems. The body seems exhausted from fighting the disease and has lost desire. But this doesn't mean that intimacy is lost forever. Rather, it means that the body and mind are in a temporary state of survival because they're fighting the illness. It's important to understand the root causes of these changes, whether emotional or physical, to deal with them and, in some cases, find lasting and satisfying intimacy. Take time to heal and care for yourself. Don't judge a mind or body that's going through a severe ordeal. At the moment, it may seem impossible to overcome these obstacles, but with patience and support, you can reclaim your life and your path to a full and rich sexual and emotional experience. For example, radiotherapy and chemotherapy can be devastating for the body and mind. These treatments can cause severe fatigue, constant pain, and hormonal changes that have a profound impact. These treatments can have serious side effects on the body and mind, causing patients to isolate themselves from intimate relationships. Sexuality is then pushed to the background in favor of fighting disease. This isn't a conscious choice, but rather the body's reaction as it tries to heal itself. Beyond the constant pain, the effects of chemotherapy and radiotherapy can limit the ability to engage in sexual activity and create emotional distance. Over time, the intimate connection gradually breaks down, leading to sexual inactivity. This new reality becomes the norm, and restoring a fulfilling sexual life can be challenging. Here's what you can practically do if you're facing chronic illness. First and foremost, speak openly with your doctor about sexual side effects of your treatment. Many men feel embarrassed to bring this up, but I assure you your doctor has heard it all before. There are often adjustments that can be made to medications or additional treatments that can help with sexual function while still effectively treating your primary condition. For cancer patients specifically, ask about seeing a specialist in oncology sexual health. These professionals exist specifically to help people maintain intimacy during and after cancer treatment. They understand the unique challenges you face and have targeted solutions. Secondly, understand that intimacy doesn't always mean sexual intercourse. During treatment, physical closeness, holding each other, gentle touch, these maintain the intimate connection with your partner even when sex isn't possible. This prevents the complete breakdown of physical intimacy and makes it easier to rebuild sexual connection once treatment is complete. Thirdly, consider the timing. Your sexual function often improves significantly once treatment ends and your body begins to recover. For many men, this takes anywhere from 3 to 12 months post-treatment. Be patient with yourself. Your body has been through an enormous ordeal. Lastly, loss of sexual desire itself is another important cause worth addressing. The reasons for this phenomenon can be complex and varied. It affects people at different stages of their lives. This drop can be caused by stress, fatigue, and emotional problems such as depression. When the body is constantly under stress, whether from daily work stress, family issues, or personal problems, this can be a sign of anxiety. Certain functions, such as sexual desire, get switched off. Your body essentially goes into survival mode, prioritizing immediate threats over reproduction. In my 3 decades of practice, I've seen this pattern repeatedly. A man comes in, worried about his declining sexual function. We run tests, and physically everything checks out fine. The issue is stress. His body is so overwhelmed with cortisol, the stress hormone, that testosterone production is suppressed. Here's what actually works for stress-related sexual dysfunction. First, you need to identify your major stressors and address them directly. I know that sounds obvious, but many men simply accept stress as inevitable, without examining whether changes are possible. Can you delegate more at work? Can you have a conversation with your partner about sharing responsibilities more equally? Can you drop commitments that aren't truly necessary? Secondly, incorporate stress reduction techniques into your daily routine. I'm not talking about vague advice to relax more. I mean specific evidence-based techniques. Deep breathing exercises for just 5 minutes twice daily can significantly reduce cortisol levels. Regular physical activity, even just a brisk 30-minute walk, improves both cardiovascular health and sexual function. Studies show this can improve erectile function by up to 25%. Thirdly, examine your sleep. Poor sleep absolutely destroys testosterone production. If you're getting less than 7 hours of quality sleep per night, that alone could be causing your issues. Speak with your GP if you suspect sleep apnea or other sleep disorders. These are incredibly common in older men and very treatable. Finally, if stress, anxiety, or depression are overwhelming, there's absolutely no shame in taking medication or seeing a therapist. Cognitive behavioral therapy has excellent success rates for anxiety-related sexual dysfunction. Some men worry that antidepressants will make sexual problems worse. And while some can, many modern medications don't have this effect. Your doctor can guide you towards options that treat your mental health without compromising sexual function. I want to be absolutely clear about something. These issues are common, they're treatable, and seeking help is a sign of strength, not weakness. In my 30-plus years working with men, I've seen countless cases where men suffered in silence for years, believing their problems were unique or unsolvable. They weren't, and neither are yours. The path forward starts with honest acknowledgement, both with yourself and with your partner if you have one. It continues with seeking proper professional guidance, whether that's your GP, a therapist, or a specialist. And it requires patience. These issues typically develop over months or years, and they won't resolve overnight. But I can tell you with absolute certainty, improvement is possible. I've watched men in their 60s, 70s, even 80s reclaim fulfilling intimate lives after thinking that chapter was closed forever. It requires effort, honesty, and sometimes professional help, but it's absolutely achievable. Your sexual health is part of your overall health and well-being. It's connected to your cardiovascular health, your mental health, your relationship health, and your quality of life. Taking steps to address these issues isn't vanity, it's self-care. You deserve a fulfilling intimate life regardless of your age. If you found this information helpful, I genuinely appreciate you sharing it with others who might benefit. These conversations need to happen more openly. Too many men suffer in silence simply because they don't realize how common these experiences are, or that solutions exist. Take care of yourselves and remember, it's never too late to seek help and make positive changes. Your intimate life matters, and you deserve support in maintaining it.